God is up to something at EBC Steel Creek, and if you just give me a few seconds, I'll tell you why I believe that God is speaking to you. If you are looking to get closer to Him, if you're looking for a place where your family can grow spiritually, I truly believe that EBC Steel Creek is the place for you. Listen, we believe in a dynamic worship experience. It doesn't matter where you come from as it relates to denomination, whether or not you had faith before. We trust and believe that if you come into worship wanting to connect with God, we have an atmosphere that will allow that to happen, and we thank God for that. We also believe in serving the community through our business efforts. We truly believe in entrepreneurship, growing and developing entrepreneurs, and we also believe in taking care of our students. Listen, we take care of our students in a great way. We love our students. They are the leaders of today. And certainly last but not least, we believe in missions. We are so grateful to partner with our main location, and we had the opportunity to feed over 8,000 people during the pandemic. And listen, I want to tell you something. The only thing that's missing from this body is you. That's right. This is the place for you to grow and to develop. I encourage you to check out our website, ebcsteelcreek.church, ebcsteelcreek.church for more information. If you're looking for a place to call your church home, I encourage you to come hang out with us, and you won't be disappointed. God bless you, and look forward to connecting with you soon. Hey, what's up, family? Hope everybody is doing well. What's up, y'all? Hey, what's up, my brother Joe in the house? What's good, man?
What's going on today, young man? Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday, family.
Oh, yeah. So what everybody may or may not know is that you and I get together every Tuesday, usually on Instagram, to kind of recap and talk about the raw and real as it relates to the sermon and things of that nature, right?
Yes, sir. Get down and dirty with it, man.
Down and dirty, straight, no chaser, right? But today, listen, as you guys may know, we are in a sermon series where we're really focused on the fact that God has called us to greater. Like, we truly believe that God has called us to greater, and that we also understand that our greatness is not defined by society, but greatness is defined by us simply being who God has called us to be. Right, Joe?
Yes, sir. And when we were talking about this series, man, and when we're in the sermon on Sunday, the part of where there's some consequences to greater is a huge part of what we have to understand, because greatness sometimes can be in your small lane, it can be in a large lane, but one way or another, there's going to be a little bit of a price to pay, and we have to make sure that we're prepared for that, not only in our own minds and in body, but in our spirituality as well.
Absolutely. There's a price to pay to be great. And I'm surrounded by a group of people that are willing to pay that price. Listen, Joe, listen, bro. I felt so good about greatness tonight, man. What is that he got on? Is that velvet? I felt great tonight, Joe. I said I felt great.
I feel that. Hey, you looking fresh and clean, dog. You know, I just always say jean the t-shirt out. That's all I do.
Well, listen.
One day when I grow up, I'm gonna be great like you.
Well, listen, we're excited about tonight. We certainly have a great broadcast in store tonight. Again, we recognize that, listen, for real, if God has called us to be great and if greatness is commanded upon us, you got to ask yourself that question. Then why am I not there, right? Why is my business not there? What's going on? And I've discovered something, right? Sometimes there can be some things going on with us mentally, Joe, that impact our greatness. And in order to facilitate that conversation, tonight we have a very special guest, Dr. Keisha Keith. She's the founder and owner of Life Interrupted Counseling Services. She is a PhD level clinician.
She's been licensed, and she is licensed in North and South Carolina with over 17 years of experience. She can help in a variety of areas of her life as it relates to emotional, behavioral, and even just different things that we face on a daily basis, anxiety, postpartum. She has a lot of experience with relationships and a lot of things of that nature. She can help us cope with a lot of issues. I remember asking my wife, I said, as we get ready to talk to Dr. Keisha, she said, ask her about coping and when greatness hasn't happened, right? How you deal with the fact that sometimes life is not where you would have it to be. So certainly look forward to talking to her about that. But I'm excited. She is married to a veteran. So she certainly just has a lot of great experience. We thank her family for their service. So without any further ado, my brother, I would like to present to some and introduce to others the one and only Dr. Keisha Keith. Can we make some noise for her? Come on, let's do that. Let's do that as we bring her into the stream. Come on in, Dr. Keith. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Yes, and we are so excited to have you. Thank you for being here with us. Joe, if you could be so kind, my brother, as we get into some of the conversations and have some raw and real talk as questions come in on social media, please share some of those questions because we certainly want to make sure that we give everybody a chance to kind of ask the questions that may be on their mind. Dr. Keith, again, we're very thankful for you to be here today, and I just want to just ask you first and foremost, just to tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us, why in the world would you get into a field like mental health and counseling?
Well, first, I definitely have to thank you for the opportunity. And I'm so thankful to God for how he puts things together and orchestrates them. And so with that, I am Keisha Keith. I am a licensed professional counselor, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, which are two different titles. However, they pretty much mean the same thing in the sense that the state of South Carolina has LPC and LCMHC is North Carolina. So that's where that comes from. I really didn't start out with intentions of becoming a counselor. I really was going to become a corporate attorney and chase the bag for sure. And so that's just me being honest. But in going to undergrad, I was in social work classes and psychology courses, and some of my professors started to talk about various experiences that they had with clients and different walks of life with people that they've been dealing with. And I discovered that mental health was a key piece. It was the thing that was missing when it came to behavior, when it came to, even when we talk about the criminal justice system, sometimes it is a mental health thing. And so I decided from there that I was going to pursue counseling. And so I did. Later on, I took a break because I needed to just refresh myself, and then went to grad school, majored in counseling psychology, and became a licensed therapist from there. I enjoy it. I was a juvenile and adult probation officer. And even in that was the in between time, I still saw how mental health played a role, how their cycles and systems were happening within families that were not addressed, but they were contributing to some of the behaviors and the recidivism that was happening. And so I further knew that this was the space that I needed to be in. And I have thoroughly enjoyed being in this space.
Wow.
Not to mention for me, I can tell you my personal story. I experienced postpartum depression. And so because of that, I've had my own counselor. And I've been able to take a walk and learn those coping skills and those tools that I needed in order to continue to grow. So when my clients come in and they're nervous or they're trying to figure out, is this really right for me? Are we going to be a good fit? I totally tell them that I get it. We're not in the same shoes, but I've been in that place of uncertainty trying to figure it out, but we'll walk this journey together. And that's what we do. We walk it out.
Wow, that's powerful. A world of experience that's going to be needed. So much to unpack that I'm sure we won't be able to cover it all, but we will certainly do the best that we can. Listen, I'm just going to jump straight in. The question before you, bottom line up front, is that Dr. Keisha, you've heard that I just really have been telling the saints, telling the people of God that in this season, God is commanding, calling us to be great. Right. And so if we believe that, then the question is, why is it that some of us are not experiencing greatness from a mental health perspective? Right. So why do we experience blocks? Right. If we all believe and say, OK, I accept that God created me. God ain't made no junk. Right. God ain't made nothing mediocre. He made nothing average. Right. God created me for greatness. Then what are some things that in your experience that you've seen from a mental health perspective that impact our ability to be great?
Some of those things that kind of impacted our thinking processes and our thinking patterns. And we pick up a lot of that from our experiences growing up. A lot of times there are people who can't see beyond maybe the 5-block radius that they live in or grew up in. So they don't know anything outside of that. So for them to be able to go and step outside of that, it takes a lot of inner strength. But in that inner strength, is there the right support system that is there for them? Because sometimes people are telling them, nobody's ever done that. Nobody in your family has ever, stepped out of here and done these things. And so that just keeps playing. And that becomes pretty much their self-fulfilling prophecy. They sit in a space where they just really sometimes don't want to move. Sometimes there are people who really have that drive, because sometimes they're not necessarily nurtured in a way that encompasses and provides that space for growth, but there's that determination that they have. There's that drive, that thirst to do more, to be more. So then they continue to pursue those things. And that is how that person becomes great. But the things that also prevent that is fear of the unknowns for a lot of people. Because when you don't know what is going to happen on the other side of this, I know I have an idea. I know that I can see some things, but other people don't see it. So it's how driven, how determined am I? If I'm saying I'm walking in my purpose, am I truly willing to go through what is uncomfortable, what is unfamiliar to me? Because we already know that, God, he that exceeding abundantly above all we could ever ask or think. But it's got to be in here, and it's got to connect in here in order for us to be able to live it out and walk it, because we're going to fall. We're going to fall more times than we succeed, but it's how we are able to learn from those falls. What are we picking up the lessons? How are we taking this to regroup and revamp and then move forward? But those unknowns, absolutely, because you can look great on paper. Your resume can be everything. People can tell you all, but if you don't believe that in here, it won't happen.
Wow, Joe, what do you think about that, brother?
Well, I was there. I was just like, I'm sitting here like, oh, I got so much. But one of the things I heard you say in there was that whole part of that expectation piece. And if you've never experienced it, what's on the unknown, on the other side of that. What I hear a lot and what I see a lot in particular of people, the saint who get a little bit frustrated, is that there has been some greater before. Okay. There's been some greater early, and so where the struggle is now is that how come I'm not having greater now? And feeling like sometimes like I'm doing the things that God has called me to do. Now I'm trying to be obedient. Now I'm trying to walk in his will. And I had greater, or at least a little bit greater. And I know God called me to something else. And when I started walking in that path, now I'm not feeling that same greater as I had before. I hope that makes sense, but how do we make that tie together and not get frustrated up in here when we've had a little bit of greater and we can't rest on that anymore, and we're stuck between that greater and God's greater.
Yeah, yeah. It's maintain and be consistent. Be consistent with the things that you have been doing and the things that have been working. Now, seasons come, and just like the leaves fall off the trees, they still come back in the spring. So you have to also be cultivating your mind. You have to continue to feed your mind with the scripture, with devotion, with affirmations. You have to continue with prayer. You have to continue with being able to get with like-minded people, looking at people who are where you want to be, so that you can look at them and kind of try to tailor some things. Do you need a mentor? Is that the next thing that you need to be able to kind of push you, to give you some things to think about so that you can step outside of your box? Because we all have one, but sometimes going outside of that and reinventing ourselves, it takes someone else's perspective sometimes to give you what you need, just to give you that and be able to continue to go forward. But be consistent, because that inconsistency is frustration. It will create frustration. You will be wanting to like punch a hole in the wall because wait a minute, this was clicking. It was going so well. But for everything there is a season. And so we have to just follow that. But we got to be doing the things that we are supposed to be doing in that process. And when it goes south, find those people that you connect with. Have that support system in place, because you really do. You pour out, but you've got to be able to have somebody pour into you as well. So it's being able to look at those things in there.
Hey, Dr. Keisha, I have a question for you. So when you encounter people who perhaps are fearful of the unknown, or even dealing with those self-fulfilling prophecies based on the fact that their experiences have not been great, they have not been exposed to great. What are some things? What are some tips that you give people? And while we are here, before you answer that question, if there's anybody else out there that that you've been called for greater, we've been blessed with a professional here today, y'all. Type in the comments, right? What your issue is, for example, if it's fear, if it's anxiety, so we could talk about it. Joe, you got anything? Before I want Dr. Keisha to talk about some of those tips, but I want to make sure we don't miss anything that may have come in already. But Dr. Keisha, we'll stop you if we need to. Just go ahead and jump right in. What do you think?
Okay, when it comes to dealing with fear, I say that every day you have to set the tone. You have to set the tone for your day, because fear is going to hit you upside the head every morning you wake up. If there's something that you need to do that, one, you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel certain about. And so in that, it is you setting the tone for your day. Put new information into you daily. So that means that when that fear arises, before that happens, before your feet hit the ground, don't reach for your phone to go, scrolling through social media and all of that.
Come on here,
Reach for
Keisha.
scripture, reach for inspiration, reach for those things that allow you to be able to grow, that allow your mind to get on a track that says, this is going to be a great day. Whatever I have to face, God is with me. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that scripture and that devotion, take those affirmations, and I'm going to focus on them. I'm going to let them simmer all day as things go on. If something gets me off track, I'm going to sit and take a break. That can be about 5 to 10 minutes of you just sitting and doing some deep breathing, or you just sitting and saying a silent prayer, so that you can regroup and reconnect and get yourself back centered. Because a lot of times it's even with people who've experienced panic, and I have before. So it is allowing that process to take place, not trying to stuff it back down, but allowing it to come forth. Because when you can do that, then you release that. We all need a release valve sometimes, just like a pressure cooker has a release valve, we have to have one. So in order to do that, it's a be still. The Bible tells us to be still and know that he is God. We have to be still in our day when things get hectic and when we start feeling fearful, when we start feeling that anxiety, we just got to sit and we got to breathe.
That'll preach all by itself. I think I struggle with that part, you know. What do you think about that, Joe?
I think that's great. It's funny because I have my keyboard right here, and when she said that, I was about to say, I don't know her key yet. Let me go ahead and see if I can get.
Give her a little E flat.
Yeah, I think she's a little bit high. I think she might be about F somewhere around in there. But yeah, that's good stuff. And I need to ask you this because while you were saying that, it kind of led me into a different part of that whole greater part where, and I've been guilty of this. Because it's funny because now what I do in terms of even media and having these kind of conversations, I'm a musician. That's all I think that's all I've ever done. You know what I'm saying? Music, sound. And if you would have told me when I was 16, 17 years old, what I'm going to be with when I grow up, I'm going to do music. That was it. Never was going to change. That was it. And if I would have always stayed, and I'm still focused on that, I think that my greater is there. But is it possible sometimes for us to be so focused in something that we think is where our greater is, that we never find what our greater really is that God has for us? How do we sit there and be like, you know what, this is what I see my greater at. But God is like, you know, if you would just look right here, it's right next to it.
Yeah.
How do we get that vision?
It goes back to being still. It goes back to the basics of prayer and fasting. It goes back to the knowing, what is that drive? What's that thing I wake up and if I just did it for free, I would still do it. What is that moving, that driving force in me? And being able to allow that to align with what God is saying. Because see, we absolutely, like I said, corporate attorney, yeah, absolutely could have made lots of money and done a lot of things, but not on purpose. It would have been more like a project because it's getting me what I need, but I'm not fulfilled in that. There is nothing that is reaching the people because everything that we have in us has to go out. And in that, it is to reach other people. It's to give them certain things and allow them to grow. And if we just keep it here, if we don't take that time to just sit and listen to what it is that our next is supposed to be, then we totally miss it. Because we can think all day long, I'm doing these things, so that's great. I must be for real, like you said. But in turn, it's okay, God, every day, help me to grow more in you. Help me to be more what you want me to be. Don't let me get in my way. Don't let money, don't let people trying to blow my head up and hype me up, get me off track of where you want to be, because I want us to be going in the same direction. And in that, I think if you pursue that daily, if you find those motivations, those scriptures, those affirmations that take you in that space, and every day you speak it, I think that's it. That will help you get in alignment with where God is going, because you'll be so sensitive that you won't miss it. Because even if it look like gold, is shiny, it's a diamond and all these things, you won't be like, oh yeah, you'll be like, God, is that you? Before you even reach your hand to go do it.
Wow, yeah. That's powerful. Hey, Dr. Keisha, Joe, don't lose yours. And listen, everybody, we want to know what your questions are, because in a moment, Joe's going to let me know what some of those questions are, because this is your moment. But Dr. Keisha, I want to ask you, what about those times when people are seeking greatness? I think, would you agree that in order to achieve greatness and be who God has called you to be, you would have to kind of know what it is that God has called you to be? Would you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that? Okay, then so yeah. Just go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, you have to know what God is calling you to be. and what he is calling you to do. And sometimes that's not always crystal clear.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes you continuing to be consistent, continuing to work hard. And even if it's you starting out, you sweeping the floor, you're dusting, be the best sweeper and the best duster that you can be until you get to that next phase, because everything is a process.
And that's what I wanted to, talk about. I mentioned that as well, and we'll talk about that, like being great where we are. When we look into scripture, there were individuals that were in all types of situations, whether they were in bondage or captivity or dealing with some type of struggle. They were great in the middle of it until they got to, ultimately where God will have them to be. And so I guess my question for you is that in your experience, when people come and see you, you being a woman of God, but also being trained, and they start to ask you questions about purpose, because a lot of the things that Joe was kind of leaning toward and speaking to, and you were speaking to, it goes back to that good old fashioned term purpose, right? I can't imagine how many times people have said, hey, Dr. Keisha D. Keith, they call your whole name, said, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing in this season. And it's blowing my mind. I feel like I'm wasting my life. I feel like I'm struggling. I feel like what I thought was going to be, wasn't going to be. Joe, this is my moment. I was supposed to be a Dallas Cowboy by now, Dr. Keisha. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where's the mute button when you need it?
But seriously, when you encounter people, because I do all the time in my service, and obviously, and we'll talk about it. I don't want to. We'll get back to that. But the reason you're here, there are levels to mental health. So pastors, provide, what we may call pastoral counseling, and sometimes we may even refer to it more so as coaching, not to confuse what we do with in comparison to those that have a different level of training and a different skill set and some alphabet behind their name. So don't get me wrong, we have a level of training. Obviously, I've been through some training that relates to pastoral counseling and things of that nature. But one of the best part of the class was when you get to a certain level, you better call Dr. Keisha. So so here we are. And one of my questions for you is, when people talk to you about that whole purpose thing, because I'm gonna ask you a multifaceted question. I'm gonna let you run.
Okay.
What I have seen is that when people are dealing with that purpose thing, it's like a snowball effect. Suddenly they're not happy. Like suddenly, sometimes they deal with depression. Sometimes they're irritable. I mean, I just see all kind of stuff happen to people. So I want to ask you about your experiences, that what you've seen with that. And then the second part is, what do you tell people how to deal with the issue of trying to identify their purpose in this season?
Yeah. And one, I have to say that I greatly appreciate the opportunity and the fact that mental health is being discussed in church. And I know that there's been so much stigma associated with mental health and seeking counseling. And people absolutely will come to the pastor or someone in the ministry all day long. But when that person says, okay, this is as far as I can take you, here is a licensed therapist who can take you a little further and go a little into maybe a different direction, I think that is awesome. And I think that this conversation has to happen everywhere, because that mental health piece is what drives everything. It impacts your behavior in so many ways that you don't even realize, and it shows up everywhere. And when it comes to being able to say, okay, this is the path I'm supposed to be on, this is the purpose, but oh my goodness, there's just so much. It's us sitting down and being able, I tell them to just relax. We go through some deep breathing. We will pray, because I definitely will pray with my clients. If they say that that's okay, we will do that.
No, we got a praying doctor. That's what kind of doctor I want. That's what. Yeah.
Listen, there's nothing that I can do in and of myself. I can tell you all the book stuff, but I have to also meet you where you are. And if you're dealing with some spiritual things, then we have to kind of talk spiritual, because maybe there is that piece of, I just don't feel purpose. This is what I know I should be doing, but it's not clicking. So it's some people I will, tell them certain like I do like purpose driven life. So go and kind of digging some things out to be able to see this, what am I here for? But when they get frustrated, I tell them, go find you some other organization that can't repay you, and give something, do something for them, whether that's a soup kitchen, a homeless shelter, battered women's shelter. Go do something outside of yourself, so that, because you are too inwardly focused right now. And do that for a little bit, and then I want you to talk to me about how you feel about that, what your mindset, how your mood has been through that. Because when you can look outside of yourself, then sometimes all of the things that seem like they are frustrating, they become less and less, because you are pouring, and you are allowing yourself your natural gifts of being of service. Because you talked about being a servant in church on Sunday, and absolutely that is what we have to do. Sometimes we have to shift our focus to go into that service, so that we don't get caught up in this is not happening and what am I supposed to be doing. We're supposed to connect, and we have to be able to do that in order to thrive and survive. A baby who is not nurtured and loved and cared for, they die. We need that connection. And so being able to give outside of you sometimes helps to unpeel some of that and unravel some of those things. And then I encourage journaling or voice journaling, so that they can write about some of these feelings and get them out. Once you clear your mind and your head of all of the ruminating thoughts and the things that keep on playing in your head, then you can get a little clearer on what's happening.
Wow. Joe, I want to talk to our sisters and brothers briefly on social media, because this is your moment. Some of you are just like me, and you said, man, I'm okay, but something inside of me is saying I'm not exactly where God would have me to be. Is there anybody? Y'all talk to me social media. Joe will be checking the comments, but I want to be honest. The reason we're doing this is because God said so, and because this is your moment. This is your moment to ask a question, to say, they're talking to me. This is crazy. I was looking for something like this. Suddenly it's on my timeline. They're talking to me. This is your chance. I want you to be honest, because I guarantee this, the question that you have is the same question that somebody else may have as well. So we'll check for comments in a minute. Joe, as we get the sisters and brothers a chance to type in any comments, and we check the various platforms. What thoughts did you have right now, my brother?
Well, one thing I'll say, just to kind of piggyback off of what you were just saying there, Pastor Walt, is that, part of the reason why we do what we normally call the raw and the real is that, there's some things that you're going to get in a Sunday morning service, what I'm saying, the thou shouts and the word and blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good. One of the reasons why I think that Pastor Walt keeps me around is because I'm a church boy, but I got some issues in my life. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, when I have certain questions and there's certain things that are going on with me, in particular with greatness or with my purpose or whatever, you know what? I come on Sunday morning, I can go to the pastor and I can get my whole, well, thou shalt have no other gods before me and pray. Thank you very much. I got that. But today is Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Right now I need to find my way. And I want for people out there to understand is that this right here that we're doing right now, it says that, everything doesn't, of course, this is a church thing. Take everything to God. All right. I said it. But there's some things that you need to go and have somebody you can say, you know what? I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And I don't know what I'm going to do on Wednesday. This is why we have these type of formats, because this is what you don't get to do on Sunday. And I really appreciate the fact that, Dr. Keisha, that you're here, because there's sometimes where, I have to admit, I love hearing that side. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in church all my life. You know what I'm saying? I love church. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I don't want to hear what the Bible have to say. I said it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back right later. Sometimes I just need to hear somebody say, you know what? Back in the day, for me, and I'm very transparent about some of the things I dealt with in my life. I needed somebody to say, you know what? Don't go to the liquor store, buddy. That'll help. You know what I'm saying? I needed somebody to say, you know what? Stay in the house.
Yeah.
And sometimes even with something like this, I need somebody to sit there and say, you know what? You keep on talking about, you want greater. Well, you need to go ahead and focus on the real things. Take the focus off of yourself, help somebody else, do some things that are in line with your greater. And you get that from people like yourself. And I want people to understand that if you type that in the comments, anything like that, we're not going to block you. Because I just said it.
We're going for it. Yeah, so on YouTube, we got a few questions coming in on YouTube.
Okay.
Facebook, we'll check in with you. One of them was that, how do you get your mind to quiet down so you can sit still and listen? So they're going back to that question. Like, okay, doctor, sounds good. We agree. But how do you get your mind to quiet down so you can sit still and listen? I'll let you tackle that one, and then we'll go to the next one.
Okay. To get your mind to quiet down, I say it takes practice, because you're absolutely right. You're not going to be able to do that just right off the bat, especially if you have so many things going on and so many thoughts that are coming. We get millions of thoughts per second. So absolutely, you can't just be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to just sit here. So I say keep practicing. So for some people, I say, if you can sit and do deep breathing, practice doing that for 60 seconds. Just focusing in on your breath. Once you start to focus in on something, then it, little by little, now there'll still be some stuff there, but you have to still stay in that. Focus in on breath. Take deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale, and keep doing that until you start to see that some of those thoughts, some of that stuff that's just going in your mind, that it starts to simmer down. Man, I say do that every so often. When you just get a moment, just sit. Because you got to teach your body. You got to train yourself to do this, because it's just like, you didn't just jump out and start riding a bike. You had to fall off a couple times. You had to get scraped up and all of that. So it's allowing yourself to just be drawn into it and take it step by step. And every chance you get, do that until you get to the 3-minute mark. And then you can definitely say, okay, we're making progress. Celebrate that, but keep on going until you build up to the amount of time that you really want to be able to be still. So because you are training your body, your mind, how to do this, so that you on purpose take these moments. Because a lot of times I tell clients to spend 10 to 15 minutes in their day just doing that. Just doing something that is not requiring them to think about the next move, that's not requiring them to think about what the kids need, what their husbands or wives need, or babes and boos need, and all that kind of thing, but do something that is just for them. And sometimes for people, that is just, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to pray. When you pray, a lot of times you can be thinking about the kitchen, you can be thinking about all kinds of things, but keep getting yourself back on track. Keep getting your mind refocused and recentered. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as you're trying to quiet yourself.
Wow, Dr. Keisha, I started to feel good as you was talking. I was over there trying to, and I'm just, right. And then, we pretty transparent. I'm just like, I think you said something key. Can't spend all your time, focused on the next move. I mean, that's me. I'm like, I'm a, y'all don't know nothing about the cartoon Pinky and the Brain, and
maniac, and a maniac.
Yes.
We think it's 4 o'clock right after class.
The world. That's me all day. So
Yes.
no, but seriously, and that's not healthy. I'm learning that. And so I thank you for sharing that. And look, that was a practical. I mean, that was one of several you dropped today. But I hope y'all caught that dime she dropped right there. It takes practice, right? Your mind will wander away in meditation. Your mind will wander away in prayer, but it takes practice. So thank you for dropping that for us. Next question that I saw was, and this is a good one because I deal with this one a lot, Dr. Keisha. What do you do when you are trapped in a work cycle in a particular job field, but cannot figure out your real God work purpose that fulfills you? Oh my goodness. Let me tell you something, Dr. Keisha. This comes up every day. I'm going to read it again. What do you do when you are trapped in a work cycle in a particular job field, but cannot figure out your real God work purpose that fulfills you? Oh, we can give you the whole screen on this, and I'm going to let you have that. With Joe, what do you think about that, Joe? What do you think about that one, man?
Hey,
there it
I
is.
believe you have something. I believe you got it. No, when you get trapped in the work cycle, sometimes it is still, I keep saying this, it is you've gotta sit back and take an assessment, an evaluation of your life and the times that you have found enjoyment. What is it that you were doing that you found that enjoyment in? Goes back to the question of what is it that you would do even if you didn't get paid to do it? And being able to identify, how can I put these things together so that, one, I can fire myself from this job that I don't like and go and do something that is more purposeful, that is more meaningful, that speaks to my heart. So maybe that is working with youth. Go do that. I go back to go volunteer with some youth. Go work with them, listen to them, see what it is that they might be needing. So then you can create something that will meet that need for them. Or look in other avenues and areas that you enjoy and love. What is it that you can do to help in that area? So while you're at this 9 to 5 or what have you that you don't like, you are still doing something worthwhile in the meantime and in between time. All the while still being consistent with praying, with seeking God for the next thing, with, okay, I'm over here, I'm mentoring. What else is it? What needs to happen? God, help me to see it. Help me to know. Sometimes pray for those open doors, and even thank God for the closed doors, because that attitude of gratitude is also what will bring you those things that you need, those things that God is wanting you to do. Because he'll give you the desires of your heart, but you need to know what the desires of your heart are, because you out here asking him 50,000 things, but that's not at the heart of what it is that you want and what it is that you need.
Run that train back right there. Hold on. You just said that we out here asking God for 50,000, 100 million different things, but that's not the heart of what we really want, and that's not the heart of what we really need. Did you hear that, Joe?
I'll back that right there.
Man, what is it though? Are we afraid to ask God for what we really want? I think that's what it is. I think we're afraid he may not give it to us or something.
I think, that some of that's it. Some of that is not feeling worthy. Not remembering that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. All of these scriptures that we learn, we can quote them left and right, but we got to let them really sit and simmer in and become us, so that we really can be open to receiving. Because if I think that, oh yeah, no, God, now I know you're a good God, but I don't know about this. When I say, yeah, I want to do these things, but internally I'm really battling, because I don't think that I could be that person, because I could be looking at somebody else who is doing great things and think, oh, wow, that's wonderful. But I cannot, because I can't see myself going Facebook Live, and I can't see myself traveling here, there, and yonder in places that I know nothing about, because it goes back to that unknown. What if What if they don't like this? But what if they do? And we have to be open and available, because, you know, if we are in a space where we want to be used, we've got to put a sign up that says use me. Not I'm back here and I'm just chilling and I'm okay, Lord, don't worry about it, just bless so and so over there. That's a lie. You want God to bless you too. So say that. Say what it is that you need. Because, you know, even in remembering, you receive not because you ask not. You're not asking. You're saying, Lord, I need this. I need enough money to do this. But you might really honestly say, I really do want you to overflow this. I want you to fill it to the brim so I can go and give and do and be all these things that you want me to be. But not saying that does not get you that. Because you have to, you speak it out every day. Wow.
Dr. Keisha, I want to ask you about something. Hey, Joe, any questions on you think a few more questions on YouTube? I'll come to some in a minute. Any questions on YouTube? I mean, on Facebook. I looked at you. Anything on Facebook? As he's looking at Facebook, y'all talk to us. Facebook. I certainly see Sister Candace is saying that you inspiring her to get back on studying for her counseling. See, that's what happens.
Absolutely.
You operate in your greater, it encourages other people. So and Sister Candace, she'd be a phenomenal counselor. She's an awesome woman of God. And so thank you for sharing. So again, somebody asked a question about, I see a couple of questions about journaling before I get to mine. Some asked about journaling, and one of the questions was they like journaling, but on YouTube, somebody responded to the journaling, like, what should I journal? Like, should I just go in and just cuss everybody out? You know, should I? I mean, what's the rules of journaling? They asked it. I'm just putting it out there. You some of them.
Listen. That might set them free. Right. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is you going in there and you writing. If you're in a space where you feel frustrated and you are angry, write it out. Get that out of your system. Yeah. So that after you get that out of your system, you can take some deep breaths, do a prayer and pivot to your next move. What is your next thing that you are about to do that is productive, that is going to lead you away from taking that anger and frustration with you? So some days it is your feelings. Some day it is your thoughts, because you don't want to go knock somebody out, because that won't go well for you. And instead you can take it to the pen and the pad, or you can voice journal for people who don't like to write. I tell people that all the time. Voice record. On most smartphones, there is that recording option, and you can password protect it. You have a notes section. You can password protect that as well. There are plenty of journaling apps and various things that you can use, but there are also journaling prompts. So if you go on, and you can Google this, I have several books with like 500 or so prompts in it. If you want, start with this: who am I? And write about it. Because a lot of times people don't necessarily know how to answer that question. They can say all of the, I'm a mother, I'm a husband, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I'm all of that, but they don't really know themselves, because they don't even like to sit down at the table by themselves and have a meal. So it's being able to do some of that. The things I liked about today were, I'm grateful for today, blank, blank, blank. Before you go to bed, if things are rumbling in your head and you just don't feel settled, write it out. What is that stuff? Sometimes because you need to get that out so that you can have a peaceful sleep.
You said, so is there a problem if I go to bed with stuff that's unsettled?
Yes.
I never thought about that before. What's the problem? What the problem is?
The problem is that you're allowing things to linger. And so you're taking baggage with you to a place that should be a place of rest.
Woo.
And instead
oh,
of
she said it again. Oh, she didn't brush. She didn't give it. We like hashtag. We like hashtagging it too. She said we take. How do you say it again? We taking problems with us to a place that's supposed to say that
right,
again.
we're taking
place of
baggage
rest.
with us to a place that's supposed to be a place of rest. And
Oh.
so because of that, you have to be able to get that off of you.
Down.
You have to be able to get that off of you. Otherwise, your dreams will even start to, it'll infiltrate your dreams, or you will wake up and you'll just be restless or not really sleep at all, because you've got all of these things that are lingering. And that's why I encourage some of my clients, because some love journaling, some are just like, yeah, we're not doing that. And I understand that. I get it. But find some kind of an outlet for yourself that allows you to release those thoughts, that allow you to release that emotion. There's even a place, and I can't think of the name of it, but you can go there and you can just break stuff. You can pay to break stuff just to release some of that pressure, some of that tension. But it's you being able to just let it go, because you let it go, don't pick it back up is the key. So some people won't journal because they'll go back and read it. And I tell them, no, don't do that. You just put it on the paper, close that thing, and move on to your next. You have to have a plan of action after you have done all that. It's how you resettle, recenter yourself. And then my next move is, maybe I'm going to go get a glass of water so I can savor it. Maybe I'm going to go stand outside and look at the sun and focus on that for a minute, because I'm laying all this other stuff that I just put here, I'm laying it down. Now that's provided it's daylight. If it's not daylight and it's nighttime, then your next pivot is, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do some deep breathing and some praying so that I really can go to sleep, because I have put that down. I have gotten that out, and I do not want to take that to bed.
All right.
Dr. Keisha, I've been taking stuff to bed. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. I just going to make sure I ask this one question, because this is a good one, and I know we're running out of time here. And it came from Melissa, so this was going to be deep.
It's going to be good. Get it.
Yeah. So some people perceive mental illness as a barrier to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say to encourage those that greatness is greater than your situation, so that it's okay to have this mental thing that you're going through, but it's not a barrier to greatness. So how would you address that?
That's good. That's good.
I would address that from even my personal situation. When I mentioned about postpartum depression, I experienced that, and I spent about 3 days in the mental health ward. So hello, it is a space of owning that story, because if you have a story, then you being able to open your mouth and share that with other people, it allows them to see, hey, this happened to her, but it didn't define her life.
My God, say it again. Say it again.
And it catapulted me to be able to do what I'm doing today, because guess what? Everybody who probably knows me knows my story, and I don't care that they know,
right.
because that is the piece. I'm not embarrassed about that. Now years ago, absolutely I was, and I wouldn't talk about it. But I know this: if I don't talk, no one else will talk, because I'm giving them space and platform to be able to share what's happened to them, how they are feeling. And that doesn't prevent my greatness. It makes me greater. It makes me better, because I've been able to go through storms. And so when storms continue to come, I still know that I can weather them, because I did that. And it wasn't just me who did it. It was God who helped me to get to this point. But I had to be able to, even in that space with mental health issues, I had to learn how to lean and rely on him to be able to help me process through some stuff, because that was bad. It was bad for me. And I needed him every day. And even though my mind was delusional, I knew still how to pray, because that's in you. That's the spirit in you. And I was still able to do that and go, oh God, okay, I need you right now, because I don't know what in the world is happening. And my world is absolutely turning upside down. So anybody who is going through something, Say, oh Lord, why me? Don't say that. Say, why not me? Because one day this story right here is going to help somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else, because it is freeing. We've got to be able to be at liberty, because there are other people who are bound, and they need to know that you can do this. You too can make it. Don't shy away from telling your story. Now, everybody can't handle your story. They can't hold it. They can't. So don't let them. But those who can, absolutely pour that thing, share that thing with them, because that is going to help set them free.
And you know what? You know what it says, and I just want to piggyback off that for a quick second, because you say you don't mind if they know. I tell you what, I love the fact sometimes that people know all the get it all.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because that way I'm totally free. You Google it.
That
Go ahead and
part,
find it.
that is the piece right there. Everything is out there. So okay,
I think you
what
forgot some stuff. You forgot that part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man, that's powerful.
Because
wow.
that empowers you. That empowers you not to feel like you are less than and you got to hide over here.
Right.
Because it is so freeing. It really is. People just don't understand how freeing that is.
And then when you're trying to hold it back,
that's cool.
Yeah, and they already knew anyway.
Right.
Oh yeah. Listen, I love y'all. It's so confirming. I've told you, I've had relatives that ask me why I talk so much from the pulpit, and I said, listen, they need to know. That way, when they find out, they ain't got nothing to hold over my head.
Yes. No blackmail. No blackmail.
I know it. I know. I'm serious, but I share because it's the only way I know how to help people. And that's what I like about you, Dr. Keith. From the first time we talked, in about the first 30 seconds, I said, this woman of God can help people because she's willing to share her story, what she's been through, and so that people can see what the Lord has done. Dr. Keisha, I'm going to leave you with this last question, and then I'm going to see if we had any I'm going to leave you with this, and we'll come back to it, as scheduling allows, as the Lord says. So, because I knew from the first moment we weren't going to be able to cover it all. But my last question is this for you. We're supposed to be done at 8. We may run over about 2 or 3 minutes. I like to honor people's time so they'll come back. We got good viewership on Facebook and YouTube and on the website. So praise God for that. So I want to honor their time, but I want to do this. I want to ask this question, Dr. Keisha. In 2021, there's a phrase that has been trending, or a word, manifesting, things of that nature. Do you believe that we can, manifest greatness, based on our thoughts? Also, is that in the Bible? I know Joe said he don't want to hear stuff from the Bible all the time. but seriously, when we hear stuff like that, is what based on your professional experience and your spiritual beliefs, this phrase manifesting, can we manifest greatness? What does that mean? What does that say? That'll be the last question. And I think we'll let you close out on that, and then we will celebrate you and honor you, and then we're gonna close out for the night.
Okay.
All right.
So manifesting is absolutely something that I say that, I believe that we can do. And here's why. You have to see a thing before you really can see it. So it has to be in your mind already. Otherwise, you won't be able to see those, beyond that 5-block radius, of your neighborhood or what have you. And I know for me, I know that in the Bible, it says in Proverbs that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So it's those thoughts that you have that become you. They sit in you, and then you simmer on them for a little bit, and you keep your talking starts to get a little different because you're thinking on that thing. Your walking, your behavior, all of that starts to get a little different. And in the process, you are allowing God to do a thing and do a work that allows certain things to come to fruition in your life, because you are in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, speaking things that are not as though they were.
Yeah.
And we have to do that. That's Bible.
That's
So,
Bible.
so it's being able to use what we know, because our weapons absolutely are not carnal. Okay. And so because of that, we've got to be